So you just filed for divorce, or your spouse filed for divorce, and you own a home together. So now what? Does one of you have to leave the house right away? Are you going to sell the house, or is one of you going to stay in the house? Where do you even begin? Well, first of all, if you're here because you just filed for divorce or just starting the divorce process, I'm really sorry. It stinks. Even if you know it's the best thing for you and your family, or you're like, good riddance, it's still a tough situation, and the process can be really rocky. And if you own a home together, it's definitely going to take a little time to figure out how that's all going to go. So, first of all, if you're in agreement that one of you is going to leave the house, let's say he's going to go stay at his buddy's house while things cool down, or she's going to go stay with her parents. If you're in agreement, great. You're already ahead of the game. But with most couples, there's that big question of, well, who gets to stay? Or can any of us stay? So first of all, the thing you need to know, if you have filed for divorce, usually, at least here in Connecticut, your state may be different, but generally automatic orders go into place as soon as that is filed. So what that means is you file for divorce, it's in the court, you can't do anything. You can't change the locks, you can't kick your spouse out, you can't go buy a new car, you can't raid the bank accounts, you can't do anything. It is business as usual. And that's really there to protect you, because if somebody just starts raiding the funds or taking your name off the house, well, that's going to make things a lot more difficult, isn't it? So those automatic orders are there to protect both parties. And what that also means is that you cannot be forced out of your home. You have a right to be there, unless there's a court order, such as a restraining order, where you guys can't be in the same house. But if that's not the case, then nobody can force you out of your house, and you can't force your spouse out of the house either. I know we've all seen the Hollywood movies, and it would feel so good to throw their clothes out of the second-story window and scatter them all over the front lawn and say, "Get out!" I'm changing the locks. But that's not really how it works. The best thing that I can recommend in this situation is to just take a deep breath, calm down. This could take a while to figure out. You might have to live together in the house. I know, not ideal. I had to do it also. And those were some of the darkest months of my life, believe me. So I understand that that is not a situation you want to be in. But if you take the emotion out of it, which I really, really recommend you do, if you take the emotion out of it and you see your home as your greatest financial asset in the marriage, you can be more clear-minded about the decisions that you make and the course that you take. If you see this as a business transaction, which now it is, you're going to have a cool head. And a cool head equals a better outcome. I'm going to say that again. A cool head equals a better outcome. I know that there are a lot of feelings around the home. It's your home. Maybe you brought your babies home to this house. You've got holiday memories. You raised your kids there. You've done all kinds of things in this home, and it kind of feels like a family member. In this situation, you really do need to detach your emotions from the house, because you don't yet know which way it's going to go. You don't know if you're going to keep the house, if you're going to sell the house. And something to understand is if you decide you want to keep the house, and even if you're both in agreement that one of you is going to stay in the house, likely you're going to have to qualify for your own mortgage to make that happen. This is based on your income. This is based on your assets. This is based on whether you are giving or receiving alimony and or child support. So there is a possibility that neither of you may be able to qualify to even keep that house after the divorce. So just keep that in mind. Understand that this is just business. The house becomes an asset in the divorce, and it is just business. You can save those strong emotions for all the other stuff. Child custody issues, man, that's a hot topic. That gets really emotional. Him moving on, her moving on. How are we going to split up the personal property? This and that. There are lots of places where your emotions can run wild. But when it comes to the house, to what is probably your greatest financial asset, you need to set your emotions aside. They'll be there for you later. And treat this as a business transaction. So one thing you can do right at the beginning of your divorce is speak to a mortgage lender and speak to a realtor. Usually doesn't cost anything to talk to them. See what it will take to get your ducks in a row once you're single in order to own this house or own another house. So even now, at the beginning of your divorce, when you don't really know how it's all gonna go, you can start taking some steps. First of all, I highly recommend talking to a lawyer. I am not a lawyer, so I can't give legal advice, but I know that even if you don't retain that lawyer to represent you in the divorce, it will be money well spent at least having a consultation. Speak to a mortgage banker. Speak to a realtor. Find out what your options really might be when it comes to your marital home. Gather information. Don't gather information from people who don't know what they're talking about. Those people mean well, your family, your friends, but do they really know? You know, when they say things like, that house is yours. You raise those kids, that house is yours. Well, it sounds nice and they're being really supportive. But can you qualify for that house? Can you maintain that house? There are a lot of things to think about. And I'll definitely talk about this in another video about certain parenting arrangements where the children can stay in the house and the parents go back and forth, or maybe one of the parties continues to pay for the house up until a certain point, maybe when the kids graduate. There are all kinds of things that can be negotiated. But just remember, the house is now a business transaction, and you will figure it out along the way, but definitely reach out for some help. See you next time.